My name is Jim Lovett. This is my daughter, Brooke. I was very close to Drew. I was the guy that got dumped on the bike rides and marathons all the time, and he's the guy that came back and picked me up. So, hats off to a real leader. I just had a very quick poem that may infuse a little hope into us. There once was a girl who found herself dead. She peered over the ledge of heaven and saw that back on earth her sister missed her too much. Way, way too much. So she crossed some paths that would not have been crossed. She took some moments in her hand, shook them up, and spilled them like dice over the living world. It worked. The boy with the guitar collided with her sister. "There you go," she whispered. The rest is up to you.
I wasn't invited to give a talk, Drew, so I'm not even sure I should be up here. I know I'm not close to as eloquent as the other people that have been here speaking. More I think what I want to do is just tell you how I knew Drew. We've actually known each other for a pretty long time. He was over at Leonard Douglas Hospital in Dover, and I was in Frisbee Hospital in Rochester, and once in a while we would have trouble and swap each other, in the ER. And so I got to know him first at Leonard Douglas. And then later on he switched over to Frisbee Hospital, so we worked together there for a while. And then Big Al showed up, and he was an administrator that we had a hard time with. And I remember before quitting and coming up the lakes, I told Drew that Big Al was an alpha male, and he just had to mount each one of us to show his dominance. And then I left. And I remember Drew started laughing, and he's got that laugh. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's like it just sort of explodes into the room. And he remembered that. And then later on, I guess he didn't want to be mounted, so he came up with and that's where I kept knowing him, and he became my partner in Central NHER, and we worked together there too. I remember for a while we both commuted up to lakes. It took an hour. We both lived in Lee, almost on the same road. And I remember later on I moved up to be much closer to my work and left Lee. And we were talking one time, and I was telling him how I lived on a big rock by a lake, and I was building terraces and planting fruit trees, and it was going to be like an Italian villa with these terraces, so instead of olive trees, it'd be cherry trees and stuff like that. And he got all enthused, and he said, that sounds really fun, like building walls and stuff. I think I'm going to do that myself down here in Lee. Will you help me? And so I said, sure. And I remember going down there, and he had all the rocks there, and going out in his backyard. And he starts to move a few and put them in position, and I pick up a rock about the size of a football, and something went pink in my lower back. And I remember putting the rock down and going Drew, I can't help you. my back went out, I gotta go. And he's going like, you kidding me? That's the worst excuse I ever heard. No, really, serious. And so he reminded me of that all the time too, at work. And I remember probably the time that I got to know Drew the best was Tony Plant was a paramedic that we both knew and worked with at Frisbee Hospital. And Tony always had these cockamamie ideas, and he usually could find some stupid guy to think it was a good idea to go with him. And that would be me. And I talked Drew into it. And so we ended up doing a winter hike up Mount Washington. And I remember how Tony sweated a lot and was big boned and, well, okay, he was fat. He and the other guy, they were both kind of big boned, and I remember hiking up to the little lean-to hut before we actually did the ascent up Mount Washington. And how Tony was saying, like, we all got up there okay, and as usual, the two little weasels went off ahead, and that would be Drew and me. I guess we were the little weasels. And then Tony and his friend followed. And we did the hike, and it was typical, as you can expect, crappy weather, and the wind was blowing really hard. And I remember coming down, and there's one little spot on Lion's Head, and it just seemed to be like a natural venturi tube. And I remember hitting that spot, and the wind was blowing so hard, it just felt like I was going to go airborne. And almost every step, I'd step one step out, and my step would go over like this because the wind was so strong. And it just felt really funny, and I started laughing. And so it wasn't very far, maybe 50 feet, and then the wind wasn't so bad. And I remember like grabbing onto a rock and turning around and watching Drew do the same thing and come through that same little area. And he's walking through the area, and he starts laughing too, kind of the same spot. And I remember, I wondered why he felt the same way I did, but he did. It was just something about being blown off the mountain that was funny then. I don't know why. It was. And we come back down, and we're in the little lean-to hut. And we tried putting up a tarp on the lean-to, but it's blowing and it's winter. It's cold as crap. And so we're trying to stay warm, and we've got our bags out around us. And started a little Bunsen burner stove, and that was about it as far as any heat. And so I started putting on more clothes, and I had a new silk balaclava that I'd never tried before. And I don't know if you know what a balaclava is, but it's like the terrorist mask, you know, the one that you stick over your head and it's got just a little hole for your eyes. And I put that on, and I remember Drew looking at me, and he started laughing. He says, "You look like a big giant condom." And I said something smart back, like, "I do not." And then all three of them pick it up and they chanting, "Condom man, condom man. If he can't catch it, nobody can." And then it just went downhill from there. It was like multiple. I never knew you could have so many verses about it. But they got funnier and funnier. And I remember Drew's laughter almost being continuous and just rolling into the room. Just like waves of the Pacific, I guess. And it was just so much fun to be with. A couple weeks ago, I was on other partner, Gene Horner, had a birthday party, and got invited, and Drew and Martha got invited, and we were all there. And I think that was the first time I saw Drew being in the dark woods. And he had this smile just kind of pasted on his face, and he was back against the wall of the barn and had a beer in his hand, and not really talked to people much. And I'd never seen him that low. So I remember going over to him and asking him, what's wrong? You know, you look really bummed out here. You look like something really bad is happening. And he just shrugged me off. And, but no, everything's fine. I'm doing well. Which is good. Smiled at me. And I let it go. Went off and talked to other people. And when I was getting ready to leave, he still was kind of by the side of the barn and looking the same way. So I went back up and said, you know, you don't look right, you look like things aren't going as well, let's go do something. Let's do another stupid trip. And he said, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah, we'll have to do that. That's the last I saw it. What I want to remember is Columbus Man.